The following is a sports presentation of the University of Nebraska's radio station, your home for continuous coverage of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. 90.3 KRNU, Lincoln, Nebraska.
So far, so good.
It was good to win.
For the first time in the Mike Riley era, the Huskers are above 500, 1-0. It was a milestone victory for Coach Riley, his 100th win as a head coach at the college level. While there were a number of positives,
Armstrong gets the snap, hands it off to Newby. No, now he's going to keep it, moving right to left, avoids one tackler. He's got green grass to the 5 and into the end zone. Touchdown, Nebraska.
The man commonly deemed as Mr. Nice Guy was not all smiles at the end.
Getting a punt blocked is just horrible. Looked like a cartoon, us trying to get out of the way of the ball. We had a block punt. Many times you don't survive a game with a block punt. That was a simple blocking assignment on the block punt. It was just a messed up assignment. It was so simple, something that's a day one thing, and we blew it. We just got to clean that up if we want to be the kind of team that we want to be. We get rid of some of those things, then that game is even better.
After going 6-7 in his first year at the helm, it's no surprise Riley is taking nothing for granted. But still, 1-0. A better start than the last time around. 1 down, 11 to go. And now, riding in from Laramie, are the Cowboys of Wyoming, a team of Rough Riders that nearly spoiled opening night 3 years ago.
37-34, Nebraska trying to survive in the season opener. This has usually been a slam dunk, combine a night game with a season opener, and that's been a win. But Wyoming's giving them all they want tonight.
A team that is now rounded up by former Husker player and defensive coordinator Craig Bull.
It is a business trip. My parents still live there. I've got a daughter who live there. But that's all, as coaches, you travel around the profession. A lot of guys end up you're coaching at a different school than what you played at. And so it really is a business trip. And like I said, it's about our players. I know that stadium can be loud, and so there's things we'll certainly have to do to prepare for that.
On paper, Nebraska is once again the heavy favorite. But again, the Huskers are not taking anybody for granted.
We'll never take a team lightly, and they're a great team. They had some athletes on their defense that we've seen on film. We're going to prepare like we're playing, one of the best teams in the nation. Just every week, that's how we prepare.
The Nebraska players and staff seem to have the right mindset. Will they stay the course and focus on the Pokes, or will some be looking ahead to the nationally ranked Oregon Ducks, who fly in from Eugene 1 week from today? We'll find out in a short while. I'm Tommy Rezach. The Husker Countdown Pregame Show starts right now.
Only one receiver to his right. He's got Andy Janovich and a running back behind him there. Looks back, actually hands it to Janovich. As Janovich runs up the middle, he's got open space. Janovich is going past the 25, 20, 15, 10. Janovich runs into the end zone. Touchdown, Andy Janovich. His first of the year for that senior fullback.
And that is classic Nebraska football. Fullback trap, up the middle, break a tackle, bust it for a big gain.
Oh.
Andy Janovich, what a run.
The stadium is going wild.
He gets the shotgun snap, rolling left, Leitner looking, sets, throws, passes intercepted, Josh Kalu, he's to the 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Nebraska! You can put this one on ice, Husker Nation. Nebraska leads 47-25.
He stepped out of bounds, but it's a touchdown for the Huskers right now.
It will stand. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Huskers take the lead, 39-38, 17 seconds left in the game, and they're jumping up and down the field here. Fans are going nuts.
Oh my goodness, it is party central here in Memorial Stadium.
Sam Foltz is going to take the punt. The best player on the team, Sam Foltz, takes the snap, punts it high and deep, makes Hanneman go back, and he stops at the 10, it bounces, and it's going to be stopped at the 1, it looks like.
Now, live from the 6th floor of the press box at Memorial Stadium in downtown Lincoln, with all the pregame coverage you need to get your big red blood pumping every Saturday, 90.3 KRNU proudly presents Husker Countdown.
welcome in. The first 11 a.m. game of the season is just about ready to get underway as the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Wyoming Cowboys are now 78 minutes from kickoff. But until then, we're here to keep you company. It's the Husker Countdown Pregame Show on 90.3 KRNU. Very best of mornings to you all. I'm Tommy Rezach. Seated off to my right are Zach Penrice, Kellan Heavican. Sydney Boyd is out with illness today. We wish her the best. But joining us are a couple of guests from the University of Nebraska Kearney, and former KRNU station manager, now KLPR general manager Ford Clark is here, and he brought a couple of guests. The first of those two is Andrew Hanson. Andrew, welcome to Lincoln.
Thank you very much. It is great to make our appearance here.
Yeah, great to have you along. We have plenty of content to get to. Katie Sad is our other guest. She will join us in about 10 minutes or so. So, Kellan, let's dive right in here. Nebraska off to a 1-0 start. Riley above 500 at Nebraska for the first time. Overall, win of 43-10. That looks pretty good on paper. That's a pretty good win margin when you look at it. What was your general reaction to Game 1?
Well, that's the numbers on paper obviously don't translate to what actually happened on the field, and I think when you look at what happened on the field for 60 minutes last week, there was some really good bright spots, but it was also just the first game against Fresno State, a team that we knew last year didn't have a great season at all, and this year obviously they're not off to the start. But at the end of the day, a win is a win, but I take a look and a couple of things point out to me. There's that blocked punt, and obviously special teams has been a big storyline already. In the punting area last week, not great. Obviously, with Caleb Lightbourne, true freshman, coming in, huge shoes to fill, literally and figuratively. But in terms of everything else, you know, the playbook was a high school playbook. I mean, that's what it was. You didn't see a lot of other things, which is fine because you don't need a huge playbook to beat Fresno State. However, as we continue to march forward and get into the Oregon game and in the conference game, and even today, this playbook's going to starting to open up. And for everybody that says, oh, that was great, we ran the ball, 20 of our first 21 times, that's not going to happen anymore. They might happen today because Nebraska's got a huge size advantage today. But in terms of moving forward, you won't see them run the ball near as much. And they even said in the post conference, Danny Langsdorff says, you know what, don't want to run the ball that much, and I understand. But what I was really impressed was they stuck with what worked last week, and running the ball was what worked. So we'll have to see. But it was only Game 1. This is Game 2, so we'll see how the adjustments from Week 1 to Week 2 happen, especially with the pretty big non-conference game looming next week.
Yeah, historically, Nebraska does have a big favorite. Historically and mathematically, Nebraska a 24.5-point favorite, and they're 7-0 all-time against Wyoming. We'll get more into all of that. Kellan touched on some great points. We'll break it down as we go along. Andrew, we go to you now. Nebraska off to a slow start against Fresno State last week, only led 14-10 at half, but they outscored the Bulldogs 29-0 in the second half, 22 of those points coming in the fourth quarter. Obviously, the run game worked really well for the Huskers, piled up 292 yards on the ground, 51 run plays, 13 pass plays. Other than running the ball, what were some things that you thought really helped Nebraska cruise to victory?
Well, I think it started with their defense and that defense of the black shirts. The Fresno State really was doing pretty good in the passing game, but could not get the run game going, kind of a opposite sides of the ball for each team. And that was really Nebraska was a lot better at stopping the pass compared to Fresno State at stopping the Husker run offense.
Yeah, for sure. The defense did a great job, only giving up 31 yards on the ground. And Zach, it wasn't the smoothest of starts from Nebraska. We've said that. They didn't ice the game really till the fourth quarter when Alonzo Moore caught that 57-yard touchdown. That made it a 28-10 ball game. That's when you finally got the sense that the Huskers were putting it away. To me, there were no huge glaring problems at the end of last week's game. Nothing like really big concerning moving forward. But Mike Riley was kind of unhappy at the end, as you heard in that opening piece. What were some things to you that you think Nebraska needs to get cleaned up?
Yeah, Kellan touched on a few of these points in his first answer, and I completely agree with most of them. And I do like what Mike Riley said in his post-game press conference. He wasn't really happy with the special teams. The punt return game was non-existent. Westerkamp, had a few mistakes back there. He was fair catching everything. And in the punt game, obviously Caleb Lightbourne's first game, he had a blocked punt. And like Mike Riley says, I mean, you don't really have a lot of games where you can escape that easily with a blocked punt in a game. It's hard to recover from that, and that led to Fresno's only touchdown of the entire game. So obviously a few things to clean up, and then early in the first half, they had that end around to DeMornay Pearsonell, ended up being his only touch of the game, and it was because he fumbled it, because he seemed like he was way too excited to be out there, and it was a -7 or loss of 7 yards. But what's good to me is that Nebraska won that game 43-10. And in the post-game press conference, you're talking to Mike Riley, and he is just not happy with the game at all. That's a very good sign for Husker Nation. You talk about the best coaches in the country, the best coaches in any sport are never happy at all, it seems like. You talk about Nick Saban last week in his post-game conference following a 52-6 win over USC, and he is just nothing but not necessarily negative, but just pointing out we got to fix this, we got to fix this, we got to fix this. And I really like that Mike Riley is doing the exact same thing with Nebraska right here because, like we've said, Nebraska's got to play Oregon this year, they've got to play Ohio State, they've got to play Wisconsin, and they made mistakes last Saturday that would not fly in games like that.
Yeah, that was the thing. I heard Greg Sharp say on Sports Nightly just last night, the thing that I think why Riley was so upset, you get into those conference games and you take a block punt, something like that, that's a huge momentum swing, especially when you're playing on the road. So, yeah, excellent point there, Zach. Yeah, Mike Riley not happy about those special teams mistakes. We have more on that coming up in just a little bit. But I wanted to end opening thoughts today, Kellan. The delay of game penalty in honor of Sam Foltz came less than 2 minutes into the game, got a lot of reaction and respect from across the country. When you talk about special moments in the history of Memorial Stadium, there are certainly many. The Jack Hoffman run, 300 straight sellouts, it'll be 350 next week. The Hail Mary for Westerkamp 3 years ago, the Tom Osborne tribute in 2012. Where does the delay of game penalty stack up in your mind as far as great moments in Memorial Stadium?
That's a tough question to answer, and I don't think you can answer it the right way because you cannot rank these types of things in order of scale of importance or by touching moment or memories because each one has a significant impact for every other person. Sam Foltz for us is going to touch us deeper than maybe the Coach Osborne tribute or the Jack Hoffman touchdown because we were actually in the stadium.
Right.
Versus that, and we go to college here, so we know of Sam Foltz versus some of these other things that are a bit older. Don't have such an emotional connection. But at the end of the day, you cannot rank these. But it was a touching moment, and there wasn't many dry eyes for just over 90,000 fans here in the stadium, and for folks across the country. And it got and it was just really, really well done. Coach Riley said it was done perfectly in his post-game press conference, and I can't disagree with him. So now, with all that said, though, we have to now start playing football in honor of him, and we've honored him. Now let's get out. Let's jump at the bit and get playing.
And in a way, I think it was good that it did happen so early because by that point,
definitely.
all the crowd was there. Everybody, they had their moment to celebrate. And it came right after Drew Brown got the Sam Foltz scholarship. So to have all of those great tributes and what they did with the tunnel walk with Sam Foltz's nephews and the flags and the logos, I think it was good to get all of it out of the way early. It's like you don't want to get it out of the way early, but it certainly helped, no doubt about it. Well, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, Zach Penrice has a very interesting story on trap games. You talk about them a lot, especially in college football, and there could be some upsets today. There are no top 25 matchups this week, but a lot of ranked teams are in action playing lesser opponents, and could be looking at some upsets. Is Nebraska in danger of upset today? Zach will explore that a little bit closer when we return. You're listening to the Husker Countdown Pregame Show on 90.3 KRNU.